Hi again, everybody. Debbie Kelly here, and I'm happy to announce that the Missouri Department of Agriculture has decided to go ahead and release again the Specialty Crop Block Grant. This is really exciting because you as producers can actually apply for this grant and actually get some work done as far as the area of specialty crops, because we know that specialty crops is really important in our state and we want to continue to see the industry grow. So let's talk a little bit more about what this is. So the specialty crop funds eligible projects that are going to enhance the competitiveness of the United States specialty crop industry, whether it's going to be in your backyard, regionally, statewide, nationwide, internationally. It helps with distribution markets and the cost of that. So it's just really exciting to know, because us as horticulture specialists really want to see our specialty crop industry grow over the years. The grants will not be awarded for projects that are going to solely help and profit one individual farm. Rather, what these grants are for is to help the specialty crop industry overall grow and expand and become more economically viable across your local area and statewide. So let's get into this a little bit more. What are the specialty crops that actually can be awarded for this grant or considered for this grant? Any of the fruits and vegetables, tree nuts, dried fruits, honey, any kind of horticulture or nursery crop, and that includes cut flowers, potted plants that you might get, vegetable seedlings, any of those things along in that line are considered horticulture and nursery crops. Many people haven't seen a chestnut before, and this is a Chinese chestnut. I was at a farm doing a tour of a chestnut farm, and it was really interesting to see how they produce on a tree. And once that cracks open, there are two nuts that are inside. And so it's really cool to see what a Chinese chestnut looks like. So what actually a more broad spectrum of what is the definition of specialty crops at the bottom of this slide, you can go ahead and look at that link if you so want. And it will tell you specifically what is not considered a specialty crop. And so you might want to look at that just to make sure that whatever you're thinking about for your project is actually going to fit within the category of the definition of specialty crop. So who actually can apply? You as an individual farmer or producer can actually apply for this grant. Nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations, university colleges, a for-profit business, agencies, as well as the industry overall. And even the different specialty crop associations as a group can actually apply for this if they so choose. So what are the project priorities? And the priorities are to enhance food safety, because we know we want to grow things and sell it. We want to feed people, but we don't want them to get sick. So food safety has been a big push over the past number of years. GAP, GHP, GMP, good agricultural practices, good handling practices, and good management practices are also part of the priorities. Investing in specialty crop research. Research is really important, and especially as we get into a lot of these new types of specialty crops that are coming out, there may not be a lot of research behind them, and you can actually do some of your own research on your own farm if you so choose. We're looking at conservation and environmental outcomes as well when we're looking at some of these research. If you're coming up or trying to do some of your own breeding and coming up with new varieties or new seeds, that can be covered. Pest and disease control. We always have pest and disease control issues when we're growing our crops. And so that is something that can be looked at. We also want to increase the consumption and the purchasing power for children and adults, because we want people to eat healthy, right? And so that can be part of the priority, as well as improving the efficiency and reducing the cost of distribution systems. So going to a farmer's market can take a lot of time on a Saturday, but selling to a chef or selling to a grocery store, that distribution system might be a little bit different. And so trying to figure out some of those things can be part of a project that you might want to do. And then, of course, sustainability of the specialty crop industry overall is a priority. So how much is the funding? This grant is up to $50,000 over a 2-year timeline. If you want to do it for a 1-year timeline, that's okay too, but up to $50,000. And what's really cool about this is you can pay or have a salary of up to $10,000. That includes the fringe and that $10,000 towards yourself or towards others that are working on the project to be compensated for some of the work that you're actually doing in the name of the specialty crop industry. The grants are actually due on Tuesday, March 8th. at 3 p.m. and they don't take any late ones. So make sure you get it in on time. So what information is needed for the grant? The actual application itself. And I'm going to go over that. And at the same time, I'm going to tell you how those grants, how those different sections are scored. There's a rubric out there with different points that are awarded for each section of the grant. And so I'll let you know what that is. So we like to have a project summary of 250 words or less. And that's just a general overview about what the grant is, what you hope to achieve, and what do you think the outcomes or impacts might be because of the work that you're doing with this particular grant. The project purpose, what it is you're going to do, why you're going to do it, is worth 20 points. Project impacts and beneficiaries. In other words, who's going to benefit from this? Yes, we know the specialty crop industry is, but is it going to be all the blueberry producers in the state can learn what it is that your project has done, so they also can in turn grow and become a more viable farm in the blueberry industry or whatever specific specialty crop you're interested in. And that's worth 20 points. Project outcomes, and that's worth 20 points. There are 7 different outcomes, and under each of these 7 different outcomes are going to be sub outcomes. And you only need to select one sub outcome. So look at these different outcomes that are on the screen, and then you can go to the RFA, the referral for application, and I'll give that website to you here in just a moment. And you can download that application, and then you can look at all these outcomes. It starts, I believe, on page 9 of the RFA. And then you can look at all those different subcategories or sub outcomes of these 7 predominant outcomes. You only need to select one of them. And so there's different arenas. And so what I advise folks is look at the outcomes, select the outcome you hope to achieve, and then build your project around that particular outcome, because then you know that your project could potentially be funded because you're gearing the activities of your project to that particular one outcome. Other information that's needed, the budget and the budget narrative. And each section of the budget needs to have some sort of a narrative. Why is this particular item in the budget, and why is it really needed in order for this project to be funded? That's what the narrative is. It explains the why it's needed. So for personnel, that's salary. Salary includes the fringe benefits. If you're going to pay others that are helping you with the project. Travel, you might have to go places to pick things up for the project. You might do education, so you might need travel to that location where you're doing the education. If you're going to teach kids at school, or you're going to go give a presentation about your project to a conference, all of that is considered travel. Equipment. Grants do not really allow for the purchase of equipment, but they do allow for the renting of equipment, so that you can actually accomplish what you want to do with your particular project. And equipment is classified as anything that is $5,000 or more, and that would be considered equipment. Supplies are going to be anything that's less than $5,000, and there's some specific examples of what equipment and supplies are in the actual RFA. So you want to make sure you read that so you can put the appropriate budget line under the appropriate category. You can also have someone that's going to be in a consultant or contractual. For example, if you needed to have something created, some print material, et cetera, that could go under contractor or consultant. And then again, justification as to why that particular activity or person is needed for this project. They want to know about the project oversight. Who's actually going to be the one person that's in charge of the project? That's going to make sure that all the budget is done correctly, the money is spent appropriately, and that there is oversight that is actually in the reporting that's done and provided to the Department of Ag. And then the project commitment is going to be anybody that's going to be working on the project. They need to know who it is, what kind of experience they have, and that they're actually committed and have knowledge so that we know that the project is going to be successful. And that's worth 5 points towards the scoring of the grant. The work plan, that's worth 15 points. This is going to be put into a table, and they provide the table in the actual RFA template. They want to know what is each of the individual project activities, who's actually going to do the work for those particular activities, And what is the timeline? For example, if it's going to be done in the first quarter of the first year, if it's going to be done by the end of the second year, whatever the time frame is to complete that particular activity. So they want to know all the different steps that are going to happen in order for you to achieve and complete all of the work for the particular project. And then the funding priorities are worth 5 points. And that was at the beginning of the presentation here of what those different project priorities are. And again, they're going to be listed in the RFA, and you get 5 points. They want to make sure that you do keep to the priorities of what this particular grant is all about. The contact for this at the Missouri Department of Agriculture is Susan Bennett. Her phone number and email address are listed up on the screen. If you've got questions, you're more than welcome to give her a call. She's really a great lady who can provide you some good information. And then my name is listed along with my phone number and my email address. I have submitted in a number of different specialty crop block grants that have been awarded in the past. And I've also been on the review panel for scoring of specialty crop block grants. So I know what a good grant looks like and what a poor one is. And I'm more than happy to help you to brainstorm ideas, to help you figure out what your outcome is going to be, and then the steps along the way that you need to put in a really good project proposal. I'm also very happy to review that proposal. I'm not going to write it, but I'm happy to read it and provide you with feedback so that you can actually have a good, successful project. I do ask that you do it in a timely fashion so that it's not at the last minute, because I can't do great work at the very last minute. I need to put a little bit of time into it. So I ask for that common courtesy. At the bottom of this particular slide is the web address on where you can find information at the Department of Ag's website on the specialty crop. At that site, there will be a description. There will be the full timeline of when everything is due. And then they're also will have the RFA, the referral for application, both a Word document and as a PDF. What I suggest is that you download the Word document, save it twice. Once you're going to save it and you can call it as a template. The other one, you can just save it as whatever name it is that you would like to give it. Name of, RFA might be a good name for it, referral for application. The referral for application, I suggest that you read it through a couple of different times, highlight different sections, bold sections, mark things up in red that you think are key important things that you need to remember when you put your application together. And then go back to the template. And then in the template, go ahead and type up your actual application. That's what they want you to do, is to take that template in that RFA and actually write on that. And then delete all the pages that are not part of the actual application itself. And then that's what you would send in an email to Susan Bennett by the time frame and the timeline of when it's due. I wish you the best of luck. Contact me if you need any help.